as you know more than most, acquired brain injury is a family affair. And this, you know, we're going to talk challenging stuff now, because I think it's important that one of the things about psychologists is that people verbalize out loud. If you imagine in a session with me, people verbalize out loud the frustration. I've had a number of family members who would say, you know, we were husband and wife, we had sex, we loved each other, we had an incredibly powerful relationship, we had great fun, and all of that is gone. You know, I don't sleep with them anymore. We're in different bedrooms because he's tied up or hooked up to different machines, or there's different, the impact of the injuries impacted in so many different ways, and the medications. And this represents a loss, actually, a loss in that relationship. And there can be many different losses and different levels of loss. The loss, and you know, I want to acknowledge this, and I think it's important that you know, I say out loud what I hear, because this is what people are saying to me. And you know, the stigma, the taboo, the shame, or all negative thoughts and spaces around this is something. But when we start talking about it, we put light into this dark corner, and then I think it's important to acknowledge that there has been losses in the relationship, there has been change in the relationship. I caution you too that sometimes we can have to find our way back into that role. It may not always be lost, and it's something that maybe you can get support with to regain, like around decision making in the relationship. We also know for children that there's an impact as well. Children can be upset about the way their mum and dad looks, or they might be wheelchair bound, or they might, you know, have impact around the way they eat, the way they speak, and this can be upsetting for children. And I think it's very useful for children, and you'll get some details in the On With Life Caregivers program. So look at that. There's some really good tools in that book, but they will talk about giving children a narrative. I call it like a card that they can take out of their pocket, a script that is well prepared, that says, my father or my mother was involved in a road traffic collision, and they have had an acquired brain injury. And this is the way they are at the moment, and they're in rehabilitation, they're recovering. So something that's short and sweet and snappy, that allows the child to be able to state what's going on in a factual way, and to move the conversation into a space that they're more comfortable with. So it does. This is difficult stuff. Acquired brain injury is difficult stuff. It's an unwanted visitor in our house. There's no point in saying it any other way. But the challenge is, how do we get to acceptance? And part of that is acknowledging all the spaces of that loss. When it comes to loss and grief, the only way I know true loss is you actually have to go through that loss. You have to process that loss, every part of it. And until you go through that loss, and then you get moved towards acceptance. We can't avoid the pain of that loss. This is probably one of the most challenging sessions of all that I'm in this Insights, is that I'm asking you to go through a process of thinking, talking, working it out with somebody else, on top of your carer's role. Saying that's a real hard ask. But if you're stuck with a lot of strong emotions, if you're stuck with frustration, you're stuck with anger, you're stuck with regret, if you're stuck with guilt and negative emotions, then I'm inviting you. I'm inviting you, encouraging you in a gentle, nice way to take a step, to get support, to talk it out in a space that's away from your friends, in a space where you can really go into the detail of the loss you've experienced. And when you go through that loss, and you process that, light comes in, a shift happens, a space where, and hope is critically important as well. And when you have that, you're able to move to a different space with your carer's role. One of the key bits when we're looking at family is the children and acquired brain injury. And for many children, they can experience an embarrassment, actually. And embarrassment, again, is another negative emotion. And what drives that embarrassment is the thought that the child would have, saying, people will think my dad or mom looks strange, or they're acting strange, or they don't, you know, the way they eat, or maybe the way they're communicating, and they're embarrassed. This is quite a negative emotion, and one of the things for children is to have a stock phrase. You know, in life, I think many times we all need little stock phrases where we can pull it out when we're put on the spot. We're able to say a practice, rehearse thing to help transition that experience or that negative emotion. So that would be, for example, the practical way of putting that is a child would be able to say, my dad had an acquired brain injury, and this is the current impact, and he's in rehabilitation, and it's shifting, and that's the way it is. And actually, I'll let you know too, I'm in 6th class, and I'm going into 1st year next year. I'm looking forward to that. And you can see in that there, that's a statement of fact, and then a transition statement to assist the person or the child to move into what's the next topic of conversation.